Hey guys, what's going on? It's Dan Gheesling and welcome to another Star Citizen opinion video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the latest concept ship released by Star Citizen called the Anvil Hurricane. So the Anvil Hurricane has been deemed the glass cannon as a result of its heavy firepower at the expense of a lack of shields, or very, very thin shields. So what this says on the website says, meet the A4A Hurricane, a fighting spacecraft that packs a deadly punch into a slight fuselage. The spacecraft compensates for its lack of creature comforts with its powerful armament, boasting 6 guns capable of blasting a way through nearly anything. Hurricane pilots have yet to find an enemy shield they can't knock down. Be forewarned, the ship is not for beginners. Mastering her unique ratio of heavy weapons with little armor requires a particular mix of marksman and dogfighter. So, a couple things that's worth noting on this, in particular, the timeline. So it says, first and foremost, when will the Hurricane be flight ready? The Hurricane is currently scheduled to become flight ready later this year because of the smaller spacecraft, which uses the existing Anvil design aesthetic, which we're going to take a look at in a second, and dogfighting mechanics have already been tested in Star Citizen Alpha. We expect it to come online earlier in the pipeline. Robert Space Industries. They say, we see the Hurricane as a tool for pilots who are excellent at drawing a bead on a target while maintaining the situational awareness to avoid enemy fire. I'm just laughing because I'm not sure we qualify for that. But those that prefer a ship that can take a pounding may find themselves fodder for interceptors. The aggressively designed Hurricane offers dogfighting-focused pilots a ship that relies strongly on firepower at the expense of armor. All right, so let's take a look at the specs of the Anvil Hurricane a little more in depth. So as we turn to the first page, it says this Hurricane was originally built in 2607 for the UEE Navy for use in the Second Terran War. Designed to capitalize on those critical moments when phalanx shields faltered, the Hurricane would unload all its firepower as quickly as possible. So this is the type of ship that goes in, very quickly delivers its payload, and gets the heck out of there. It's got a really unique design, which we'll talk about in the later aspects of this video. But one of the interesting things right off the bat, it says besides having a ton of offensive power, one of the most unique features about this ship is that the pilot seat deploys from underneath the ship's belly. It says similar to the Anvil Gladiator. I also like that we get a chance to see the HUD in the lower left-hand corner. Looks very similar to the Anvil Hornet, with just the 2 front guns a little bit tighter. Almost it's like a blend between the Hornet and Saber with a touch of Cutlass HUD, which is kind of cool. Outside of here, you see the general specs in terms of what it looks like. This kind of is a throwback to me of the old I think claw marks from Wing Commander 1, the blueprints that came with that. But this is to me where things get extremely interesting. I'm very into the aesthetics of this game, and in particular color schemes, skins, and that's what one of the aspects of the game I really enjoy. I like seeing the design, I like seeing the colors, and so here you get to see a bunch of different variants of the Anvil Hurricane. So right here in the upper right, you have the Advocacy one might compare that to Avenger Renegade. You have the Cryon Security, Corel Customs. I don't know if these sort of entities have been introduced in the lore thus far. I don't read a ton of the lore within Star Citizen. I would actually like to start doing that maybe on a beginner nub basis. But as we press on here, look at these ones. These are the ones that are start to catch your eye a little bit. Argyle Dawn, so this red and black one in the upper left-hand corner, came to prominence during raids against supply ships destined for Lago, the Nexus system. After carefully selected spots, Hurricanes would ambush a convoy and eliminate the ships before they could retaliate. Their ruthless effectiveness prompted the Advocacy to conduct a number of high-risk raids of their Echo 11 headquarters. So I think that's a really cool variant. I like the bottom one, the Screaming Gheesling. And, of course, quite possibly my favorite is the bottom right one, because that blends in with our Star Citizen organization, WHP. Their colors are nearly perfect. So with this new concept ship design, it brings up the question, does this ship have a place in the verse? And is there anything else similar to it? And I think to answer the first question, yes, of course this has a place in the verse. There's very little that we have in the game that is equivalent to this. A small dogfighter that packs an extreme punch, yet at the expense and still being vulnerable to be destroyed in a relatively quick fashion. It's going to be hard to tell until we, of course, get our hands on it. But I think it's a cool concept for a ship, and it may, depending on how large the multi-ship battles get, this could be a game changer. If you're doing an org battle and things aren't going your way, maybe you deploy your fleet or your squadron of hurricanes to come in and as like a last-ditch effort, or always have it somewhere in the arsenal where you send in those unique pilots that are able to get things done and get the heck out of there quickly. Or even, I don't want to say it at a kamikaze style, but you could send these guys in to even loosen the defenses and maybe open your way for larger scale attacks or to break down the defenses of enemies and or other orgs. The next question that comes up is, what style of player, who would want to buy this ship? And I think this is going to be an interesting question to answer, because I think right away, anyone that's going to be interested in PvP that is highly skilled, this is probably right in their wheelhouse. Someone that wants to do a lot of damage and has the skill to do so and also maneuver and get the heck out of there. I think this is also going to be, like I'd mentioned previously, a very useful ship for large scale orgs that are going to need some firepower and some defense and some serious assault. I also think this could be interesting as a pair with a bounty hunter or as a pair with some sort of pirate stealing cargo operation, where you may send these guys in, or you may send in a hurricane or two to cause havoc, and then have the pirates and or the bounty hunters clean up the work, whether it's you're trying to capture someone or whether you're trying to retain cargo from an exploded ship. I think there's a highly relevant case for why this ship is going to be in the game, and for aggressive style players, I think this ship is one of the best in concept for those players that like that style of gameplay. Which brings us to the final question. What do I think of this ship? First and foremost, I do like the design, but it kind of reminds me of a blend between the Hornet and the Avenger, just in the body style alone. I know it's an Anvil ship, but you can see remnants, even in the top view silhouette. It has a Avenger-like look to it, although with a unique bend in the wings. I think that makes it unique enough where when it comes down to assessing a ship, I always look aesthetics first and everything else later. That's just how I do. And I think with this ship, it's unique enough, it has unique enough silhouette, in particular from the front and rear aspects with the design of the wing. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I like it. From a functionality standpoint, having the ability to deliver a wicked payload in a short amount of time and not being tied to, I'm assuming this is going to be a relatively fast ship. It's not going to be tied to being like a lurky bomber or a heavy end bomber or anything of that nature. I think it's really attractive in that feature alone. So this brings up the last question. Am I going to add this to my fleet? And over the past year, I added a lot to my fleet personally. In 2016, I added maybe more ships than I care to admit, so I'm going to be very cautious moving forward what I add to my fleet from a concept sale, and from that nature, I bought all the variants in the ships, and I just think, all right, I'm a regular subscriber to Star Citizen. I contribute in that way. I've bought a lot of ships, and I feel like for me to add additional ships, because I have a wide range that I'm relatively happy with, actually very happy with, and for me to buy this, I would have to swap it out for something else or upgrade something else, which I'm definitely considering doing. The ship that's kind of on the outskirts for me that I would consider trading up for, because the price point for this, if you're essentially the War Bond edition, or what I like to call the new money edition. So if you're just buying this brand new and you're not upgrading or you're not melting a ship, it's $160 US. If you're melting a ship, it's $175, meaning if you've already spent $175 within your RSI account, you can melt that down and upgrade it in that way with already existing credit. So for me, where this becomes interesting is, am I going to make the move to upgrade my Buccaneer, which I believe was $110 US, to upgrade it to the Anvil Hurricane. A couple things that come into mind that I'm hoping we get a shot at is if the variants are somehow available. I don't know when. I don't know if we're going to have the ability to buy skins. I think that would be a definite yes for me. And then also the fact that it's on a sped up pipeline. And this is not a ship that I'm assuming we're going to have to wait a long time around for. Those are two things that may push the needle for me to melt my Buccaneer, which in theory is a little similar to this. And I think I have a preference from the design. I like the way the Hurricane looks as opposed to the Drake Buccaneer. So we'll see if I do make a decision. I'll let you guys know in the next Star Citizen opinion video, which we publish once a week here on the channel. And if you guys are new to the channel, this is the first time watching a video here, we post a new Star Citizen gameplay episode every single morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. And let me know in the comments below if you're going to add the Anvil Hurricane to your fleet, and if so, why? And if not, why not? I look forward to interacting with you guys in the comments and seeing what you guys have to say about the Anvil Hurricane. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.